Hey guys, this is HellHades, this is HH Gaming, thanks for tuning in. This video is actually going to be me with a viewer on my Twitch channel, and we were going through some fundamentals of how he's managed his account, how he manages his spending, and then really I'm giving him some advice, some coaching around what he should do in the future. Actually turned out to be a really fun Q&A towards the end as well, so check out the video guys, hope you enjoy it. Hey man, how you doing?
Oh, I am doing well.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. Good to have you on chat.
Yeah.
So, I guess introduce yourself to the community. Like, how long you've been playing Raid for? You know, what brought you to Raid? And I guess give people a little bit of a feel for what you wanted to get from this chat today.
Sure. So I've been playing Raid for 6 months yesterday, I think it was.
6 months, right? Okay, level 90 in 6 months. That's pretty good going.
Yeah. I do spend a bit. I spend about 2/3 of what you do, based on what you said before.
Okay.
So I spend about, in your terms, about £400 a month.
Sure.
And yeah,
are you
I love
used to
this
spending
game.
on a game? If you come from other games where you spend money on the game.
Somewhat. So I came from Rise of Kingdoms, where I spent about twice that and couldn't afford it.
Yeah. Got a bit of an echo. One sec.
So yeah, I love this game. It's the combination of graphics, the huge champion pool, and how many different ways there are to do everything and different things there are to do, I think is what keeps me going so far.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, let's have a quick look through the account. So, Great Hall is pretty well developed for 6 months in. Did you go kind of hardcore on this straight out? Were you kind of straight into PvP?
Pretty early. So I spend almost exclusively on gems and refills of either energy or arena.
Yeah. And did you get into content from likes of me or others early to kind of guide you along, or did you just kind of find this out pretty
Early.
quick?
I mean, I probably spent the first 2 or 3 weeks kind of just, exploring the game, and then after that I went to go find some content creators, and pretty quickly you became my primary one.
Awesome, thank you very much. 729 wins this week. Few of the chat are saying that's a lot. That's a lot of battles, actually.
Well, yeah.
I suppose that's only your. How many refills is that? No, that's a lot, isn't it?
Well, they were selling those half-off packs, those mini mix or whatever they were, so I got like 1 billion of those.
Yeah, right. And you got a load of medals sitting around. I guess that's for Clan v Clan.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, let's have a quick look at a champion pool then. Okay, so actually, I was expecting to see something crazier. Just based on you saying, you spend a good few hundred a month, and
Something I want to talk about is the spending priority, but for so far I haven't spent a lot on shards.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So you've been mainly spending on what, energy refills, arena refills, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've got Krist, Hedgie, Turvold. You got the Brogni. So actually, the champions you have got here, I would say you've got maybe 3 of the best champions in the game in pools.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Yeah. But mainly and obviously you got your double man eater here, which is going to be gives you the kind of cakewalk through clan boss as well.
Actually, these days I haven't even been using it. I've just been using.
Oh, really?
Because it takes all the setup. I've just been using. You can go look at my clan boss team. It 2 keys Ultra Nightmare, which is all I care about, and I can auto from turn 1 instead of worrying about setup.
Sure. Oh, so you just gone for a more traditional, just a defensive damage dealing comp.
Well, and the thing is, none of them are like set up for clan boss, quote unquote, right? They're not like speed tuned or anything. They're just strong enough to get it. So
yeah, and it just shows the power of these champions, doesn't it? Because I mean, Brogni for me is an insane champion now, like insane. I knew he was good when I saw him come out, but the more I've seen him being played, and obviously with that crazy passive he's got going on, yeah, I guess it makes this even easier. But Yeah, I'd actually be curious as to what damage you could do if you cared. Like, if you cared about, and if there was some sort of reward for it. So, obviously I'm playing around with Clan Boss right now, but that's because I find it fun to do. There's no additional
I might
improvement to
switch to
my
that, but
rewards
right
and
now
stuff.
I still have like Faction Wars, Doom Tower, some other stuff that actually matters.
Yeah, yeah. We got 26 keys in the mix. What's that about?
That's
Why is
from
that?
those same ones. That's from those
Same
same
packs.
things, and I ran out of space in my inbox, so I had to like get all the keys so I could buy more packs.
Nice. And then faction was how we're doing here. So you're on the kind of home straight towards Lydia. Few completed. So it looks like actually you're either maxing them out or you're kind of falling behind a bit with things like dwarves, skinwalkers. Is that just based on the pools that you had?
Yeah, I mean, I had finished about 3 as of about 3 weeks ago, and then I started really pushing Faction Wars, and now I'm up to 7. I think there's a few more that I'll have soon, but some of them I might need a couple more pulls still,
Yeah.
or to be more careful, basically.
No, sure. So I guess let's get into some of the topics that you wanted to discuss then. So I mean, do you want to raise them? Perhaps raise them in the order that you'd like to kind of talk through things. That's cool.
Sure. Well, why don't we already halfway talked about it a little bit, so let's start with spend priority.
Yeah.
I've been spending, like I said, mostly on energy, gems, things of that nature. I'm starting to get to a point where I have enough general champs to do a lot of stuff, but like I don't have Prince Kaimar, I don't have Warlord, I don't have, certain champs. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if there's a point in the game at which it makes sense to start shifting your spend more towards shards.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, certainly for me, until I was a content creator, I probably did almost exactly the same as what you're doing. So being a content creator is a little bit different because even doing something like a shard pool becomes content for a channel.
Sure.
But absolutely, I spent money on strong energy packs, which had good gem kind of coverage in it as well. And honestly, probably I spent the most money in the game for me as a kind of probably similar tier spender to what you are now before I was a content creator. On books. Book packs for me were the kind of value, but especially if I had a champion, and it tended to be specific to around when I had pulled someone and I knew they were going to make a massive difference to my account. So, for example, when I got Man Eaters, I went and bought a couple of the expensive packs, which have got the legendary tomes and the epic tomes, to
Yeah.
book out their A3s. It was literally a case of I know they will make a huge impact to my account. So my biggest value was enhancing the champs I had and making sure that I had enough gems to keep refilling energy and, energy packs if they were good value. And what I never bought was, and this has been the case right through unless I'm doing a video about it or I'm kind of on full whale mode, any type of gear packs, I never bought them at all. Actually, until I wanted to compete in Plat Arena. That's if you're not up for Plat, if Plat's not in your mindset, then I think there's never a time to buy a gear pack. I just can't see there's any purpose in it at all.
Yeah, I bought 1 or 2 early, but not much.
Because it's so so up against it in terms of the RNG of what's coming. If it was a gear pack, let's say they did. I don't know if they've got any available right now. Have they? Shield set. So let's say they had a gear pack which was just additional versions of the top items. I think you could kind of get away with saying there's potential value because there's way more chance of pulling stats that you want. Or if they said, we will tell you the main stat or a choice of the main stats for the bottom items, and they looked in your favor. But the fact that all of these bottom items could just be absolute trash makes the gear packs really poor value. Until you get super endgame and you're going for something like, so if you're in my position now, the weird thing is it actually becomes better value cash wise for me to buy gear packs and roll the dice than it does for me to buy energy packs and farm, because the amount of items I get in the right sets now which are going to be an upgrade for me, are basically zero.
Yeah, because you're probably only hunting 2 or 3 sets at this point.
Yeah, hunting 2 or 3 sets, and I've already got good gear in those sets. So, I'm looking for better Savage. I'm looking for better speed. I'm looking for better immunity gear. And if I'm not finding firstly those items, it's almost definitely a bin piece. And even if I do find them, they have to have the right substats to be relevant at all. So it definitely changes as you develop through the game, and it changes depending on what your goals are, I think.
Thanks for the free education.
But certainly, anyone who's in their first 6 months, you're doing exactly the right thing, and it's just refill your energy. And even now, like, the game's so different from when I started, because you get onto. I used to get onto refilling my energy pretty quick, but I don't think you do anymore because there's so many more things to do. So yeah. I don't even know. I guess if you're farming overnight and stuff, then yeah, you will be refilling energy.
That's where I use the most of it.
Yeah. But even things like the forge which they added just brings so many like amazing sets. Swift Parry, Perception, Guardian, Bloodthirst are all really good sets.
Yeah.
So you end up spending a lot of time farming in other places, I think now, rather than just burning energy to farm dungens like Dragon and Fire Knight.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, this seems
hopefully
like
I answered your question.
Yeah, this seems like a good point to just mention something that I told you before is my pet peeve, which is people who spend a bunch of money on the game and don't spend any money supporting content creators. If you're free to play, totally get it. And he didn't ask me to say this, but honestly, if you're spending significant amounts of money on the game, toss a little to your favorite content creator. Come on. All right.
Yeah, no, look, I appreciate you saying it. It's I do find it kind of funny though that before I was involved in content, like I used to watch Twitch streamers, and honestly, like I never subbed to a Twitch streamer that I watched. I never even really considered it, but it's I mean, certainly in a game like this, it's a fair point, and I appreciate you saying it. So I guess we move on. Magoo,
honestly, that's one of the other things I love about this game. This game has such an incredible ecosystem of content creators. Yourself with the tools you've created, Deadwood Jedi with his clan boss, right? I mean,
yeah,
there is a great ecosystem of content creators creating not just cool YouTube videos and Twitch streams, but like tools that help with the game.
Yeah. I mean, when I went in with Fiction to do the website, I probably didn't picture where we were going to go with it. It was more going to be just like an information source, pretty much my tier list online. And the more we've got into it, the more I'm like, hold on a minute. There's not that much. Well, no, that's wrong. There's a lot of stuff that's out there, but there's also a lot more that we could do. And I was just like, wow, this could be actually a really good source of support, because this game's complex. It's the basics of the game easy, but when you get like under that kind of layer of the basics, it's a complex game. And you see that in the my new team I'm running on Clan Boss. People just say, "Can I just sub in someone else?" And I'm like, well, not really, because if you do that, then you need to change this, and to change this, you need one of these 7 champions. And they're like, well, I don't have that, but I've got this. You're like, okay, well, fine, but then you need someone else to sub in for that spot, and you've got these 6 options. It's just it's
that's like, part of what makes the game so fun, though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it becomes a bit of a puzzle, and I enjoy that type of stuff. I enjoy that kind of side of it for sure. Yeah, no, definitely.
So that brings us nicely into one of my next questions, which is sort of, given how complicated this game is, what does it take to be, or what does it even mean to be sort of a high end or end game or top tier player, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's probably changed as well over time, actually. So I think it's an interesting question. I think if you really go into the kind of who is the end game player right now, it's basically the person that can compete in the top 30 spots for Plat Arena. I'd say they would be the people that would be considered the best end game players, unless somebody just doesn't care about Arena. And in that instance, it might be, well, who's pushing the more interesting comps in something like Clan Boss, I think, or who's honestly, I feel like it's people that are building strategies to deal with new and interesting parts of the game. So I think there's almost sections. You could almost say, yeah, you've got the top group of people that are in plat, and they're the best of the best in that kind of arena.
16 and counting.
But then you've also got the people that come up with different interesting comps for Doom Tower, and are able to kind of work their way through Doom Tower, perhaps without the necessary champions to do it easily. And then you've got the other people like, you know, Victor, who's just absolutely smashing his way through Clan Boss and literally doing double the damage of the good players in Clan Boss, you know, with crazy setups and crazy ideas. So I think, yeah, this game's weird in a sense that
you can almost define your own level to some degree of what you're looking for.
It's almost like where do you want to specialize, or where, you know, do you want to? And if you do, then, you know, almost like where do you take yourself? But I think if you were to ask the average player, they'd probably just say, well, the top arena players are the, you know, the true end game players. Or the most. It's the only competitive area of the game. So.
Right. Well, I think there's going to be a new definition when they do eventually finally get around to a little bit more complex.
I hope
PvP
so.
stuff.
Yeah, I hope so. And I would guess the other thing is when you've got an end game experience, which really it boils down to 1 hour a week where you have to be available and absolutely on it to be able to compete in that kind of arena spot. And, you know, for some people that's the middle of the night. For other people, it's actually when they're going off to work. And that's not conclusive with like a competitive game. It just doesn't.
It's
really
tricky
fit.
though. Go back to Rise of Kingdoms for a minute. I was in a very competitive kingdom and clan for a long period of time, and I was one of the guys who helped run everything. That was not as conducive because you didn't know what the timings were always going to be. Someone could attack your kingdom in the middle of the night, right?
Sure.
A game like this is closer to like a contest of champions, things like that, where you do know, right? So if we pretend for a moment that our current clan versus clan system was actually something super competitive, the clan that I'm in rotates sometimes, right? If you want to push this cycle, you go to this clan. If you don't, you drop down to another one. Yeah. Right? So you could do the same thing for a better, more competitive version of clan versus clan. Man, I'm not getting up in the middle of the night every time, but, you know, one time a month, I'll get up in the middle of the night and go for one of the top couple competitive clans in our cluster.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I do feel like they could pretty easily just implement something like a Clash of Clans, you know, 15 versus 15 in a clan war. Yeah. I think it would be pretty easy to do. And if they actually had any sort of thought behind it, they could even have some areas where it's like, you know what, you know, for this clan war you might have 5 spots where it's 5v5 arena, 5 spots where it's 5v5 clan boss, and 5 spots where it's 5v5, I don't know, dungeons or something, whatever else.
Yeah. I think it was your idea of creating your own Doom Tower almost or something.
Yeah. So it wasn't my idea actually, but I really like the idea. So yeah, fighting your way through the whole enemy clan with your roster. I don't know if this was the idea that was pitched actually, but if one of your team dies, then they can't continue the fight kind of thing onto the next stage.
Right. That would be super cool.
It'd be really cool. Yeah, everyone would literally be. I think it'd be really cool. I think it would bring a completely different vibe to the game, and I also think they've got all the fundamentals to make it happen already in their game. It's not like we need you to go and build a whole new thing. It's just we need you to build an interface that makes it work.
Sure.
Yeah. So at the minute, I think it's probably the one thing that's lacking from this game is, you know, competitive scene to it, which isn't just this kind of 1 hour window in the arena. And unfortunately, with the arena stuff, it's so based on when you're in the proper top tier. It's so based on the champions that you've got available to you. You know, not having certain top tier champions really hampers you to be able to take on those guys. So, and then obviously, you know, if you was to say to me, I've been playing for 6 months, can I play Plat Arena at the top level? Almost definitely the answer is no, because you just don't have the gear yet. You know, you just wouldn't have found enough strong pieces to be able to compete in that time. And that's kind of difficult to, you know, there's not even really a pay to win version of making that happen.
Right.
That's a weird, you know, that's the truth of it. There's not really a pay to win version of being a top player. to get there quickly because you just can't get the gear. You can't make it happen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So why don't we do a little bit of actual account stuff here real quick then?
Yeah, cool.
I'm progressing pretty good on most things, but in the past month I pulled Zavia, Seer, Mausoleum Mage, and Helmet, and I had no Poison Exploders and no Seer before that. So I haven't done much with. I've got most of those up now, but like I was kind of wondering just what you would put as a fast Dragon team, fast Fire Knight team, and hard Doom Tower floor clearing team, maybe, or just one of those or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think you can't beat like a Seer combo. So I actually personally I run a Zavia Poison Exploder team for Dragon, and I run Seer cleans for pretty much everything else.
Okay.
But there's actually no reason why you couldn't just run Seer for the lot. If I'm honest,
Sure.
I do that just because I like to play around with stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with Helmet combined with Seer or Mausoleum Mage combined with Seer, you've kind of got enough buffs going on. So basically, Seer is all about having enough buffs to rip off to be able to do your damage. So you just want a drop defense champion, then the buffs, then the rip off, and then some sort of reset champion. So
I have two Renegades is the best I got.
Yeah, I mean Renegade's absolutely like pretty much as good as Kaimar.
It might be in the vault right now, but they're around. Oh, there's one.
Yeah, so Renegade is something like a shield set to give you another buff to rip off.
Okay.
Because the important thing here is you're not just building now for what we used to, which would be like Fire Knight 20 or Dragon 20 or whatever. You want a comp that's going to be able to do all of those things, but also clear, Doom Tower hard level 100, or sorry, not 100, but one of the actual wave levels, or Fire Knight 25, for example, and that's just more difficult because you need more buffs to rip off to get to the same level of damage. So,
right.
But Helmet is really strong for that in terms of setup. Renegade just in a shield set to give you an extra layer of buffs. You could even do shield set plus one of the divine sets to give you another buff. Yeah, so or someone else in a no, maybe that
immunity or something, maybe
immunity. Yeah, maybe immunity in a shield set somewhere else. But if you need it, depends if you need that, an extra buff.
Yeah, you'll notice that my gear is not as good as it could be. It's good, but like because I don't have a super fast anything other than Spider. I have super fast Spider, but I don't have super fast Dragon or Fire Knight yet. So, I have good gear, but I don't have like the depth of gear that some people have.
Yeah, and it's literally just time in the game. And even for someone who's super active like you've been over the last 6 months, if we were looking at is Arbiter your fastest champ? Yeah. And is she in your fastest gear right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably like if I were to burn all my glyphs, I might be able to squeeze 2 or 3 more speed out of that by turning 4s to 5s or something, but that's it.
Yeah. And this is a good indication really of how far away you are from someone who is super endgame.
From Mac Chan.
You're like minimum 50 speed from the average kind of top 100 plat player. Which it's not the be all and end all, of course, but it kind of just gives you a feel of how far have you got in 6 months as a really active player versus someone who's been playing the game for 2 years, for example, or 18 months or whatever.
It is hard to catch someone who's playing just as hard as I am, but is years ahead of me.
Yeah, I guess the difference is they probably barely ever upgrade their stuff. So,
right, yeah,
you're only catching. You're always catching, but you're extremely far behind. That's the truth of it, really.
But the thing for me, I do eventually want to get a plat finish, but I'm not trying to get top 10, top 50, right? I just at some point, I'm hoping by the 1 year mark to get a 300 plays or better finish if I can. Yeah. In fact, that's sort of my next question is. That's kind of my goal is to finish Faction War by 8 months, Hard Doom Tower by 10 months, Plat Arena by a year. Do you think that's feasible?
So have you finished? You haven't finished Hard Doom Tower yet.
No, I'm like halfway through Hard. I finished normal. I'm like halfway up Hard. But I haven't started playing around with Seer yet, though. I just got Seer, so.
Sure. So I think Seer makes Hard Doom Tower, like 10 times easier. She's actually a kind of ridiculous champion for this content at least. So anywhere where you were struggling before, she will probably enable you to do it.
That's what I'm hoping.
Especially with the type of champions that you've got, actually, because even if you don't go reset champion, so you might find some waves it's just difficult to do that. Doing a reset champion, just someone like, I don't know, got a war chief who just takes you down, and you can't do anything about that. So
whatever floor 119 was that you kept working on.
Yeah, oh god, what an awful level that is. But what you do have is tons of buffs in strong champions that can take a hit.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why Brogni, Trisk, Valk, Ursala start to become the buffs in the very late stages. And Seer, she'll rip them off, she'll kill everyone, and you might have to wait for the revive, you might have to wait for your abilities to come back. All that while you're just kind of blocking debuffs.
Well, the nice thing for Doom Tower is you don't got to do it fast, right? You just got to do each floor once.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I get to the very high levels and I stop doing like a double reset Seer, because that's what you want to do. You want to drop defense, buffs up, rip it off, reset once, do it again, reset twice, do it again. And it's literally like, it's super easy if you've got 2 resets. But when I get to the very high levels where that's just not feasible, or some levels in particular where it's not feasible, I don't even play it. I literally just put out there, my Duchess and buffers and Seer, and I just let it go. And Seer dies probably 5 times, but we get the job done. Eventually, it's just it's.
I think the hardest one is going to be getting Plat Arena in a year. That's going to be the one that might be. We'll see if that happens.
In terms of faction wars, I think that's probably just about focus for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Brogni pretty much means that you will be able to defeat dwarves. It's just about who you're going to put alongside him, really, and concentrate on some builds. I honestly think with Brogni, as long as you've got perhaps one other champion who's kind of half decent, I think that's almost enough.
I just pulled Geomancer actually, so we'll see. I don't know if he's good at faction wars or not, but maybe.
Yeah, did you not do the recent fusion? Andig?
Yeah. So I've done every fusion so far. I did the recent one, and I did the thing where I got overly smart with myself, and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save the fusion. I'm going to save the fusion for that champ chase.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
And then I got super busy with work, and I didn't do it.
Oh, man, that's...
I know.
That's the brutal one.
Well. I mean, the good news is actually, of all the fusions, that is one where the epic value relative to the legendary is actually pretty good. I mean, there are others that would have been a lot worse, but still, I was pretty annoyed.
Yeah, that's harsh. I mean, look, you've already got good nukers, so what he actually brings is stuff you've got. So it's not the worst thing, but in terms of specifically
nice
dwarves,
faction wars, though. But
yeah, it would have been helpful.
The thing is, though, I feel like what I figure I'm going to do is spend another month or so, like just trying to get each faction wars without stealing all my best gear from my best champs to do it. And then if there's 1 or 2 factions left, I'll just steal all my gear from my clan boss team, my arena team, and everything to finish it, and then go back.
Yeah. I can't. The fact that you've been able to beat faction war teams already, means that you've got a good grasp of building teams, and that's all it is really. It's looking at.
I use your tool a lot. I use your tool, your new one that's better. That faction war one on the website a lot. I just go through and make sure I have this block ticked and that block ticked and this block ticked.
Nice.
And I don't know this for sure, but tell me if this is true because I think it is. On your website, it looks like in your faction wars section, it's basically the best faction wars champ on top. Is that how it's sorted?
Yeah. So it's sorted by if you take all of their ranks for faction wars, and a point, put a point system against it, it would be the one who's scored the most points. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So pretty much the top one for each faction on that list should be the best all-rounder. Doesn't mean they're best in class at everything, but the best all-rounder should be at the top.
I usually just start at the top, and I maybe take the first 3 that I have, and then I look at what gaps I'm missing and try to fill those in.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, but I mean, obviously you've got a solid foundation here. So it feels like with Seer in tow, Do you have Drexar? Don't have Drex yet, do you?
No, I'm about 70 or so fragments in, I think.
Yeah, Drex will help you a lot for Doom Tower Hard, actually. So as you get higher in levels, Doom Tower Hard does become difficult. It's challenging. The boss fights from probably 80 through to
Yeah, I mean,
120
Tyrant does some of
tough.
that job, but Drex might do it better.
Yeah, I think the reason why Drex can be different to Tyrant is because Drex creates the damage when he's being hit. That's the main difference. So Drex still enables the debuff when he's taking slaps, and some of those bosses just relentlessly keep coming at you. And I find, I mean, even if you, I don't suppose we can look on your account actually, but if you were to look at some of the best teams at high levels, most of them have got Drexar in now. You know, it's just
probably true.
So that will help you probably finish the last few. But I think Hard Doom Tower you'll do within the time period you said. I think Faction Wars as well. Plat Arena is a different story, I think. So to be a Plat Arena finisher in 6 months, it's doable, but you're pretty far from it, I would say.
Yeah, I know.
I know. Yeah, that's the honest truth. I think you've got some strong champions, so that wouldn't hold you back. You could probably achieve it with champions that you've got, but yeah, gearing wise, I think to not have a neutral in Savage, you basically want this same setup but in Savage. You definitely would want another minimum 35 speed on your Arbiter, I would think. You actually got really good champs for a defense, so that's pretty cool, actually.
It'll be tough, but we'll see.
But yeah, I mean, it's a great challenge because, as I say, it's the toughest thing to do for sure.
The thing I don't know though is I only ever watch people like you or Mac Chan who are in the top 100. I don't know what 200 to 300 looks like in a plat finish.
Yeah, well, the main thing with that is actually pretty much sneaking in the back door. So the thing with finishing in Plat Arena is you want your defense to be visible for the shortest period of time to high-end players. Yeah, if you're trying to just kind of creep your way in. If you're talking about trying to compete in the top 50, well, fundamentally you have to get up and amongst it. So you have to be visible to all of those top players right towards the end. And quite often what I do is I go in, I get to like top 50, I dip out again at some point, and then I go back in again, depending on how my defense is doing and whether I'm losing any of my offense battles. But yeah, the way that a lot of people do it for their first time is literally they keep in the mix. So they keep kind of high gold 4. They get themselves a page of definite wins. And then 5 minutes, 10 minutes before plat reset, they slam through the wins, creep into plat, and they get themselves a plat finish. And it's not a bad technique, to be honest, because you just don't become visible. You're not visible to any of these top players that are just going to look at your defense and just be like, yeah. And firstly, I don't know who that is. I don't know that name, which means I can probably beat them easy. And yeah, and they just kind of slam you in seconds. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. That's definitely going to be a challenge for this game.
Yeah. Okay, so now I have sort of a more general 40,000-foot view question for you. So especially as a content creator, I know obviously you've talked about, I think in your mental health video a little bit, you always have to be kind of thinking about what if this game, I have to have another option, or what's my next game I'm working on Incarnate, things like that.
Yeah.
I personally just often don't have time to play more than one game. But how do you think about which game you're going to pick? I mean, 100 games come. I'm sure a lot of them ask you to do little promos. You do them. How do you decide what game's you are gonna sort of focus on, what other one you're not, when to make a new one sort of a main game, things like that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and actually, it's incredibly difficult because anything I put on my channel which is not raid, like instantly attracts flame. Like it's just natural. People come to see raid from my channel. And interestingly, when I first set the channel up, I was never set up as a raid channel. It was like, I even called it like addicted to gaming because I play a number of different games. But I guess what I do, so anytime I'm offered a promotion, I will check out the game, I'll play it for a little while first and see if I feel like my community will revolt against me even showing the game. Okay, that's like a starting point. I'll then play the game for a bit and I'll decide whether it's just going to be a kind of one-off promo, which is going to net me a bit of cash. And if people want to use the promo code and play it, fine. But I'm not going to do like a whole series of videos on it. It's just I think it would suit my audience enough, but it's probably not for me actually. And then we get other games like I guess Dragon Champions and Summoner's Glory are two good examples where I played it, I really enjoyed the game, I thought it fit really well with my community, and I actually negotiated different deals with them. So they wanted singles or double or two videos. I was like, no, let's do longer term arrangements because I think I can show this game in more detail to the audience for longer. And Incarnate's a really good example of that as well, where I kind of bought into the team and actually decided to do a second channel on Incarnate. So I think it's got such a great development team behind it. And it'll be interesting when people get to play it from this week, how the feedback kind of comes back. And, that's probably going to be, I mean, it's important. It's important for me. But I guess with all that said, I don't think I've seen a game yet, like Raid, that I've looked at and said, this could be my next main game. And I guess that's a challenge. I don't think Raid's going anywhere anytime soon, but I'd like to have something which feels like that at some point within the next couple of years if Raid starts to become a bit stale. So the type of games I'm actually looking at, because my circumstances changed a lot.
Thanks for the great content.
Are games like Ashes of Creation, perhaps New World, so more like an MMO where it's a bit more involved. So that type of game I used to play a lot. I used to love. I stopped playing them because of work, and my work's changed that I now play games for work. So obviously time wise it's more feasible, but yeah, equally, I wouldn't want to drop this community. So if I put a game out there on videos and people are just like, you know what, that looks absolute trash. I feel like this is more than just me sitting talking about Raid, is what I feel like. We've got a pretty strong community that come and they'll watch me play other stuff. We'll just have a general chat. And it feels different to me. Like I've played a lot of League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Valorant. I've played a lot of these games, and the communities are fairly toxic. And I wouldn't want to move to a game like that to, I'm not in a situation where I'm trying to become an esports superstar. I really enjoy what I do, and I want to continue doing that. So, yeah, it's a real challenge.
Well,
it's a real challenge.
If you do, like I say, just time-wise in my life right now, I'm pretty much a one-game guy for serious-wise. But if you do switch your main game, I actually probably will switch too.
Also, well, even you talked about Rise of Kingdoms is where you came from, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And I enjoy that type of game as well. Like, I enjoy that type of game. And to be fair, I really enjoyed Clash of Clans for probably 8 years. So if there was a mobile game which grabbed me in the same sort of way, then I'd test it. Like, we had, I don't know if you were around when I was doing World War Doe.
A little bit.
And I really enjoyed it. It was like a Clash Royale type of game, but I really enjoyed the game. And I thought this has got some real staying power for the community. And I was like, actually, let's try this on a couple of streams. And people enjoyed it, but it just didn't have the length. It didn't have the kind of staying power that people wanted and that I wanted, actually. So we kind of, we stopped doing it. But it's good to be able to kind of test those type of things for me, because, I don't want to stop being a content creator in 12 months if Raid decides to, just kind of stand still, basically. But yeah. Good question, though, man.
Right.
Yeah, good question.
So now I'm basically finished with my sort of question stuff like that. We do have, if you want to do this little polling game, I don't actually know how to do that, but if that's the thing we can do, it would be fun.
Yeah, well, let's do a couple of these. Let's pick a couple out.
Sure. I'll repost it right here on the bottom, whichever ones you think the community would find most interesting.
Yeah, so Mathorian was basically saying, in a chat we were having beforehand, it was like, oh, it'd be cool just to see, based on the type of chat we've been having here, so spending habits and time in game and that type of thing, like where are the viewer base? Like where are you guys versus some of these things? Let's just throw a couple of polls out there. Actually, this would be cool. So I guess the first one's always going to be the interesting one. Like, what's your spend level in the game? And I remember a few messages on a YouTube video where basically someone was saying, you don't cater to the free to play. About 95% of the players who play this game are free to play, and I was like, that doesn't feel right. I don't think that number is anywhere near close.
I think a lot of people, like, if I play a game, I play Pokemon Go, right? I spend $5 or $10 every couple of weeks. I don't spend more than 30 or 40 a month ever. And some months I might only spend 5 or 10. People like that think of themselves as free to play. I think of myself as playing that game free to play, even though I'm really not free to play in that game,
Yeah. Let's go with these. So we won't go right up to kind of whale level spends here, but guys, yeah, chip in on the poll. So if you're free to play, obviously free to play, $0 to $25. This is per month. Yeah, on average, what do you tend to put into raid per month? Per month, Cal, yeah. $200. That's one pack. Yeah. This is the thing. Like we did this.
Without looking, you're supposed to guess what people are going to say.
Oh, what the average is? Okay.
Or how many people are going to be a couple of them or something.
Well, I'm not looking at the results actually. I can't see it right now. But
okay.
I would imagine that the biggest proportion of this stream, I would think, would be in the $50 to $200. I think, because and it's probably a bit of a warped group, because generally, if someone's coming to a stream, consistently, they're probably more into the game. So that's what I'm going with. Let's see what we get. I'm wrong actually. So
yeah, pretty good split actually.
Yeah, it is actually. So $0 to $25, 33%, a third of the stream that have answered $0 to $25, and then the next biggest group, free to play.
It's free to play.
Is that real free to play, guys, or what?
I'm assuming if 0 to 25 was the other option, that must be pretty close to real free to play. So that's about 60%.
Yeah.
That are low spend free to play, and then the other 40 splits up among. Well,
so you got 30% spend more than $50 a month, and 60% spend less than $25.
So mostly.
Yeah, I wonder how many of the people that pressed free to play, or even the 0 to 25, maybe had a wife or a husband looking over their shoulder at the same time and was like, I
will say, to be honest, to be totally honest, if you track your spending, sometimes you do find that you spend a little more. Like, I actually track my spending because of that.
Do you? Yeah. Do you have like an allowance? You say this is the max I spend per month. And
I do not spend more than $600 a month. I do not spend more than $600 a month. I usually get north of $500 a lot of times.
Yeah. So let's go with.
I work it down a little bit. A lot of times I start a little earlier, but. All right, what's another good question?
Let's go with how far are you in dungeons?
Yeah, that's a good one. I just think it's interesting to sort of get a feel for who the community is. So you got to tell me again. What do you think? How far do you think people are going to be?
Yeah, so I think the majority. I'm going to say 0 to 11, 12 to 15, 16 to 8 to 17, 18 to 19.
Oh, so we're getting granular here. Okay.
I think so, because I think the first few levels are actually pretty easy.
Yeah.
And then it gets really difficult really quickly. So
is this the furthest dungeon anyone has gotten, or is this their average dungeon level?
I think on average. So how far are you guys through dungeons on average? I think most people here are probably going to be falling. I'm going to say like dungeon 18 to 19. Okay. And again, this might be this is probably an interesting one. It might be completely
a little
warped.
higher, but we'll see.
I mean, a lot of people.
You're gonna be surprised.
Yeah, a lot of people that ask me to help them. Generally, it's can you push me those last few levels, which is where I kind of get my my feeling from. But yeah, but then saying that, if 60% of the group here are free to play,
no, go
maybe
look at
they're
the
not as
poll.
far. Let's see what people are coming back with. 75%. Ah, yeah, see, 75%, 20 plus. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I say, because the thing is, remember, like a free-to-play who's been playing for... There was some guy who beat the game free-to-play in a year, right? So a free-to-play who's been playing 6 months or more, and you have a lot of serious long-term players that watch you, I think. Even if they don't spend a lot, they're serious long-term players, a lot of them. And there's a good smattering of other levels.
So where was my one then? So I said 18 to 19, 4%. I've got no idea. It's interesting to do. 20. I'm actually really surprised by this one, because the amount of people that ask for my help around this type of stuff is nuts. But then maybe
Well, you think about it. The thing is, probably most people who ask you for help for Clan Boss or ask you for help with their Nightmare, people who ask you for help in other or Faction Wars or Doom Tower, it's because they're already at 20 plus on Dungeons. You know?
Yeah. What else should we pick? What pick one yourself? What do you reckon?
I actually want to know how long people have been playing. Now I'm interested to see that.
How long viewers have been playing for?
Yeah. I like what Wink says. Wink says when he needed help with the early dungeon, they didn't have enough channel points to get it.
It's actually true. It's a bit of a crap thing about my system. I've got so many people that have got channel points that I can't make it cheap. But I'd much rather help people that are earlier on in the game, to be honest. Then pretty much all of my read years are, can you do a 1T Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss team nowadays? Whereas I think when I first started doing this stuff, it was much more, can you help me get through Spider 17 or, maybe I've gone a bit too short on the months, actually.
Let's see. Well, you're going to get a lot of 5 plus, yeah.
Yeah, I've probably done that crap, actually. Let me end that. I'm going to end that one, actually. I'm just going to change it. I'm going to change it just a little bit.
It's still fun to see. Even on that one, though, there's still a good smattering, you know?
Yeah. Because I'm interested to see how many have actually played it.
I do think that your community might skew a little bit towards people who've been playing for a minute.
Is it okay that I'm 45 days in and still not got a single legendary? Don't worry about legendaries, Atta. Legendaries don't win you the game. Gear wins you the game.
Also, like, I mean, to be totally honest, for the past... I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong, love getting a legendary, got some great ones. But for the past month, the champion I've been dying to get is Seer, which I just pulled. And right now, the champion I want next is Allure.
Yeah, yeah. And the champion I want most right now is Taradi the Frog. And probably the champion I want second most. I mean, take Twist out of the mix, but...
Oh, the new poll's up.
Yeah, Geomancer. So, yeah, 2 epics. But then I feel like in terms of the game, quite often you get this kind of power creep in games. It's quite common. I feel like the power creep has been in epics more than legendaries recently. I feel like the epics coming through are really strong.
Look at those results.
So 49%.
Half of them.
Yeah, 12 months plus. Wow.
See, that tells you why you have so many that are at the 25 dungeon and above, or 20 dungeon and above, right? Because you have people who've been playing for a minute.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 70%. Yeah, 70% over 6 months.
If you do a YouTube video on this, you could title it "HellHades does not know much about his community" or something.
Yeah, that's it. I wish I knew. Yeah, yeah. Which makes you wonder,
I think I haven't played long enough for the epic power creep thing, but I think that's great news if it's true, because that's what new players to the game can get a hold of easier and quicker, and free-to-play players can get a hold of easier and quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying that epics are better than legendaries either. I just feel like they're much closer than they were.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of epics that do a huge amount. Generally, you're fine with legendaries. All you're getting is perhaps one more skill or debuff or buff or something over the kind of top tier epics now. Whereas it used to be, you know, they're significantly better.
Other than Plat Arena, do you think there is anything in this game you can't do with just epics?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No. In fact, when I was, I don't know if you would have been around at the time. Actually, I used to do me versus Stu Gaming weekly. I would pick
I saw the old videos, but I have not. I was not there.
Yeah, it was actually really good fun. To be fair,
Yeah.
pick like an area, be like, right, beat that, but all you can use is epics, or you can use whatever you want. We'd just pick a kind of, you know, conditions for that week.
Like your own clan wars, right? Like your own what clan wars should be.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. And it was like, and Cold Brew got in the mix as well, and it was basically, fastest runs or most damage on clan boss or whatever. And what was interesting is when we started to do some of the dungeons, actually, it was easier to do some of the dungeons with epics than it was with legendaries, like to do them quick. It was crazy actually. So, you know, a lot of the strong decreased defense champions were epics that you wanted to use. And actually a lot of the big damage dealers, like, you know, your Royal Guards and what have you, were epics as well. So Seer, Royal Guard. So yeah, it was quite interesting to do.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick clan boss damage poll as well.
Yeah, there you go.
How much clan boss damage do you do?
And then I can let other people.
This is Ultra Nightmare. Ultra Nightmare, how much clan boss damage do you do? To 10.
You should put an option in there that says don't do Ultra Nightmare though, just in case, because not everybody will.
Yeah, well, I'll do 0 to 10, so someone could put 0
Oh, okay.
if they don't do it. This is going to be interesting because when Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss came out, people were unsure whether to even try it. It was so hard that people generally were going back to Nightmare because it was just taking too many keys to do. And as a clan, to have enough players that could hit Ultra Nightmare, it was only the very few top clans that could do it. It was actually the first time I ever moved clan, was just because I was the only one in my clan, like anywhere near, and I was 2-keying Ultra Nightmare, and no one else was getting anywhere close. You know, it was just not even on their radar. Whereas nowadays, the games.
I think this is the most interesting poll result I've seen so far.
What are people saying here? Oh, it's actually. See, this is interesting, yeah. So we've got.
It's a really good split.
But if you consider how many players have played the game for
a long
12
time.
months plus, still in the 0 to 10 bracket. A third of the players in the 0 to 10 bracket.
But the thing is, I think you think about it like the dungeons. There's more ways to do some of those things. Clan Boss, there is more ways than there used to be for sure, but you know, to do Ultra Nightmare if you don't have some of the hard-hitting chants, if you don't have 2 man-eaters or a couple other specific comps, is kind of hard.
Yeah, it's true. That's the thing. You kind of, as a content creator, I view Clan Boss as, well, if you don't have, near enough, everyone that I talk to is doing an unkillable, but clearly I don't talk to enough people, because if you're doing an unkillable, you're at least doing 25 million damage. So 50% are doing less than 25 mil damage in this poll.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Although, I mean, to be honest, you could do Ultra Nightmare. If you're doing 24, you could, I guess you could do Ultra Nightmare if you wanted to, and just use all your keys on that.
Yeah, that is true. 3-key, hard, can almost 2-key. Yeah, it's interesting. I guess there's only 3 counter-attackers in the game. We're talking like 600 champions in the game. You've got 3 counter-attackers. You've got 1 man-eater. You've got 1 tower. You know, it's probably, if you don't have 1 of 10 champions in a game that's got 600, then you're doing it the old way, and it's tough. It's tough without those tools. Yeah, it's cool.
That's one thing that is so cool about watching. I don't know his real name, but Ian K or however they say his name. It's not how you say his name, but I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
Where is my 8-month
Yeah, okay, yeah. But him and some of the other guys, to watching them do different things with Clan Boss and seeing different alternatives is really nice.
Yeah. But I do love things like the mechanics they've now put in on Brogni, on Geomancer. It's almost like a new way to beat the Clan Boss, which didn't exist before. And I don't even know if they did it on purpose, but Brogni's now the equivalent of having a counter-attacker back in the day. And Geomancer's basically the same as that as well. So hopefully they bring more interesting champs like that in, which just give you another chance. Awesome. Look, man, thank you for coming on. It's been really interesting, actually. Really cool to get you on. And thank you for all you do in my community as well. It's actually huge for me. So I really appreciate what you do, man.
Yeah, for sure. Have a good one.
Awesome. Well, that's been fun. Thank you, buddy.